spark in someone else.
That strengthens the strength of spark seems to
Erode their defenses, clarify their bafflement, and release the distortions. It's very good. At the same time, we've discovered, because we've been doing this for a while now, your strength is being sparked. Your spark is being sparked. So as you are connecting with others, because of course you want to help them and transform them, because they will need it.
the same thing is happening with you.
So I think don't need it. So it's a wonderful process, and I'm glad you're doing it. Living Christ is a program which the network is putting on, and this is our third shoot. The Living Christ is based on this little booklet. Well, it's not, its foundation is though. The booklet has Christ, maybe not what you expect. The Christ sings life, streams the divine, evolves being, flows toward fulfillment. In other words, it's a force. It's a dynamic. It's something that flows through all being, pressing us. It's within us. The Christ process is within us, and with all that is. And then the last line is, maybe more than Jesus, as we understand Jesus. So today, we're going to be talking about Jesus. Now, I don't know whether you feel you understand Jesus. I know I don't understand myself, so I accept that I cannot understand Jesus. And I don't really need to. Jesus, the way we're looking at it, or this is the way I'm looking at it, the Spark of Humanity Network is a congregation, a constellation of people who are attracted by this idea, who believe in this idea that there is a spark of humanity in everyone, and who are willing to have their own spark strengthened and engaging in the process however they are. I don't know everybody who's in the network, and they probably don't all know me. And they may disagree with me violently about things, which is fine. You know, we're not unique, we're not rubber stamped. So the way I understand it, and I can only talk from where I understand, is that the Christ is a function, it streams, as I said, it's a process, it's a power, it's the force, and that it continues, and that it's in every one of us. The idea is that Jesus, whatever you think of him, whether you think of him at all, is someone who was, for whatever reason, living, manifesting, incarnating the Christ process within him with sufficient integrity and clarity and effectiveness so that he's pretty much, for many people, Christ seems to be his last name. And that same process that Jesus incarnated, that he manifested, that he lived, that he let come to sufficient fullness in him and in his life, is at work within you and me, all of us. That's part of what living Christ is about, is recognizing that force, that place, that power within us, and letting go of everything that gets in the way of its becoming, taking over our lives, running, blossoming to its full extent within us, and recognizing that that same process is going on with others, and that that capacity is present within them. It's inherent within them. We may not experience it, we may doubt it at times, but that same capacity, that same process is at work within everyone we think of, everyone we know, everyone we think of, and is also at work within every situation and every condition. Can be hard to believe these times. But recognizing that and choosing to be more open to the Christ process within ourselves, I'm not sure we can recognize it outside ourselves unless we're beginning to let it have its way within us. And that's really, as far as, in my experience, it's where life is. It's where joy is. It's where the true deep comfort is. Another thing, so that, in other words, the Christ process is not limited to Jesus. If you don't like Jesus, if you don't want, God forbid, you know, whatever, that's irrelevant to the Christ process being present within you and having a capacity to be effective within your life to bring you closer to who you truly are and who you are needed to be in your life, in these times, in this world. And trust me, I'm 80 years old now, trust me that where you're needed to be is where your deepest comfort is. Trying to be where your grandmother thought you should be, or where your children or parents or whoever wants you to be, where it works best for them, that looks best to you, which you think is best for you, those things are not, can never bring you the comfort, the joy, the satisfaction of being where you truly needed to be, being true to yourself. And being true to yourself is the same thing as being true to the Christ process within you. It's just different language. Same thing. So, welcoming you into that. I read the Bible, yes, actually some of it every day, but there's a strain in the New Testament that Jesus ascended above all heaven to all heavens to fill everything so that he could become all in all. So in other words, in that sense, the Christ is not more than Jesus, that Jesus has come to infill all that Christ potential, all that Christ process, all that Christ movement. If that works for you, take it away. Use it. Live by it. If it doesn't work for you, disregard it. Don't pay any attention to it. It's perfectly, it doesn't make any difference. But we wanted to have that language in there so that people would know, the Christ process is not, it's free of any doctrine, any dogma, any established tradition. It is a fact of, it's a truth. It's a dynamic that has been active forever and will continue to be active. So we don't need to read the rest of the book because we can do that next week. We did it last time. So that gives you an idea of how we're understanding Jesus as compatible with, congruent with our understanding of the Christ, but not limited by it. It's not, they've overlapped, whatever works for you, have at it, believe it. The other thing I wanted to bring up at this point was, my sister sent me a clipping from the Boston Globe of a columnist who had been looking at artificial AI Jesus. Apparently there are apps you can have on your phone. So if you have a question, you can ask Jesus by the EIA. Apparently there are 3 apps. Apparently this started in Austria where somebody set it up so people who felt they needed to confess their sins could go to this app and confess their sins and feel better and absolved. Anyway, but the writer is writing about all this and comparing the apps and his experience. And at the end, towards the end, he said, this does not answer the question that we all have. When the heck is Jesus coming back to save us from the mess we've made? So I want to address that. It's something that I can't say wrestling with, but it's been a living issue, the second coming of Christ. If you look at our website, which the nice folks from Orca will put on the screen, you will see that we're talking about the Christ surge. Our understanding that this process, this power, this power, that this flowing, fulfilling, singing, moving, growing, has been coming. It's a force of evolution. So it's not steady state. It, comes and then it sort of sees how that works, and then it may try something else. And that the second coming of Christ is, Christ has been coming irregularly. We're not talking Jesus, we're talking Christ here. Surges in human consciousness, surges in consciousness, not just human consciousness. And usually because of our culture, the ones that we identify with are individual men, right? Maybe I said this a few weeks ago. Like Moses and Buddha and Lao Tzu and Mohammed, blessed may he be, and Jesus. I'm sure I've said this before. We're just not aware of, nobody paid any attention to the Christ surges, the Christ movements that were groups of women, that were groups of men and women. But that power of evolution, because the Christ is moving towards its own fulfillment, whatever that is. I don't know. There's sort of an inbred sense or hope. I think we see that in sacred literature. You may feel it yourself, but I can't describe it. But it's something that a fulfillment, a completion, a resolution, a bringing together. And that has been happening and continues to happen. And and so to talk about the second coming is just, the second coming was millennia ago. But it's the current one. And what we're saying the Christ Network is putting out there, I'm not saying everybody in the network agrees necessarily, that we are currently experiencing a global Christ surge in consciousness, all consciousness. Humans are becoming more open to what the plants have to tell them. Well, of course, it may be just Western people. Aborigines all over the world have been tuned into this before, but we're becoming more generally tuned into, open to what our consciousness is open to what the plants, what the animals, what the stones, what the water can tell us. So this is happening on a global basis now. And that is very exciting. Can also be terrifying, but it is a participation thing. This is not I'm going to sit here and wait for Jesus to come back on clouds of glory, which he might. Not saying he won't or can't, just saying that I don't think we wait for that, because it's a participatory thing. Life is not a spectator sport. It's a participation thing. And so how do we find our unique gift, our unique role, our unique place that's essential to the solution? We did a whole series of shoots on Living Mosaic, which you can find on YouTube in Orca. We find that so we can find our way of participating in this, which helps feed, helps energize this movement toward this fulfillment that we all yearn for, this place of resolution and comfort and mutual support and appreciation. So that's what's going on. It's not he's going to come and fix everything. He may come. I don't care, really. I'm busy enough and encouraging you to tune into the Christ process within yourself. And I'm busy enough doing what I can to support you in opening to the Christ process within you. So that we are finding our places and becoming who we need to be in order to have this world become a sustainable biosystem, a humane, whatever, use your words, but that's what we're working for here. And it's not, Jesus may come on clouds of glory. God knows I'd welcome him and it'd be a great thing. But that's not my job, is to try to figure that out. My job, and I think probably part of your job, is to become who you need to be, and the Christ process will help you get to where you need to be so that you are part of the healing of the world that is part of this whole revolution, this whole movement, this whole healing that is thought of, has been called the second coming. Okay? That's part of it. The last thing for me to talk about today is to reveal the filters, the lenses which got me where I am, just so you, full disclosure here, or at least full enough disclosure. How it is that I've come to this understanding of Jesus. Bless him. Getting on for 50 years ago, I was a practicing attorney. I was a courtroom attorney. And on a Friday afternoon, when I was probably unemployed, a friend and I were driving along the River Road in Yolo County, California. And we got into a conversation because she was that sort of a friend. And in the conversation, I realized that, everything I've heard or seen or read about God and Jesus is hearsay. Now, hearsay is a legal term. I've forgotten the official definition of it, but it is something that's not from your direct experience. It's if you're saying, I saw her hit the cat with her car, that's direct evidence, that's not hearsay. But if I say, I heard her say that just 5 minutes ago she hit the cat with her car, that's hearsay. We need direct testimony. And I realized that it's all the Bible, the sermons, the preachers, God knows everything what you're hearing here. In a sense, for you, if you're trying to say this is true, it's hearsay. For me, it's not. I'm telling you my experience, the true thing. So you can take it as you will. So anyway, I realize it's all hearsay. And at this point, if whether anything called God, but I was having this conversation with a friend who was into this stuff, so that brought it up, and Jesus, whatever. She'd started it by saying realized she was holding against Jesus the people he allegedly hung out with. She was in the courtroom business too, so we could use words like allegedly, and that wasn't fair to Jesus, because this is what these people said, but it wasn't fair to Jesus. These are just people saying their opinions about it. And so what you've been hearing today from me is my opinions. So this is to stimulate you to be open, say, what's true for me? That's the point. What's true for you is not what's true for Martha or other people on the Spark of Humanity Network. It's opening up so that you become available to have the Christ process within you, the Spirit, your innate wisdom, however you want to think of it, your gut, guide you to what your understanding, your unique understanding is to be. What will work for you? Knowing who you are and how you are, what will be most effective for you? And I don't know, and you don't know, but there is something that it may not know consciously, but it moves into those spaces that are available to it. Trust me, it does. So anyway, I got it. Oh, this is all hearsay. So I thought, well, if God and Jesus exist, if they exist, they can reveal themselves to me as they are, if they exist. So that was it was like a challenge I threw out to the truth, to reality, to life, to all being, whatever I tossed it out to, I just tossed it out. Nice day along the river road in Yolo County. And that was a while back, and I began paying attention. It took me a while, over the next few years, to say, I had one big experience that, okay, there is something. But it's that filter of mine, it's mine, it's not yours, it's not anybody else's, it's the way I have received what I've received from that challenge. The question being, as they are now, not back then, not tomorrow, but as they are right now. And so so for me, the issue becomes, and I've had so much fun on this path, and I just think it's hunky-dory, and I appreciate it, and I invite you to your equivalent. That I lost my sentence, didn't I? Not the first time, and probably not the last. But that openness to the experience, however that would be for you, to open to direct experience, and then just allow yourself to be aware. And that's what I've been doing. And that's what, for me, and maybe for other members of the network, it's the way with the integrity for us to become who we're needed to be, to become part of, as we see it, the living mosaic that's the solution to the problems in the world now, to become who we essentially are, to become our true selves, to become true, to find our ground, to get our feet where they need to be, in the position from which we can move with the greatest ease and confidence. So I'm going to be silent for a couple of minutes, or maybe just a minute, because we're almost done, and be open to whatever comes for next. More self-revelation. I can tell you that for the first many years, it was a few years before I had an experience that let me no doubt that there is something that some people use the word God, which is a simple word, and you can use it in conversation, and I no doubt about that, as they are, responsive, powerful, paying attention. Took me, well, or it took you, whatever, it was later that I began to be open to the idea of Jesus. And I didn't really like him at all, because I didn't want to become one of those people that really just got all slobbery mouthed about him. But I can, but things move, and I was open and available. So it's a gradual process. It's custom fitted to each one of us, exactly where we are. And it will get us to where we really truly want to be. Where the only place that comfort is and joy. So blessed be. Have a good until we meet again. Take care.